Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020 when we started Together for Sharon.com in her memory and to advocate today for a cure for all those still battling PD and their families because no one is ever alone in this fight. Today's guest is really a true honor. He's an inspiration and he's not only so well educated, but I hope to be able to call him a friend because the work he does is just beautiful and just something that I know the world needs to hear. And I believe most of you already are aware, but after today, I hope you are even more. So I just want to welcome you, Doctor, to the show. It's an honor to have you here.
How kind, and thank you for your kind words.
I appreciate it. Maybe we could start if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then really we're going to discuss something very important, which is Cure Parkinson's, and so that everyone listening knows this fight is a global one. It's not just about the United States. It's also something that UK means the world to me personally, and all of your work and research is really phenomenal.
Yeah, so the next year the Cure Parkinson's Trust will have their 20th anniversary. I was one of the very first people to join, so getting on for 20 years. Um, and you're right that we're running clinical trials around the world, and Australia, America, Sweden, France, Germany, and of course the UK. And um, and we're expanding very rapidly. I think we've been involved with about 40 clinical trials now, and they're all with we don't study symptomatic therapies because they're very mature for use in Parkinson's, but when we started, no one was really looking at disease modification, neuroprotection, stopping the annual decline in Parkinson's disease, and we focus on that. And all of our trials have been um, focused on changing the trajectory of um, decline in Parkinson's. And we've had some trials where we've achieved that. So um, it's uh, it's it's wonderful when that happens.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, and I also agree. It's the only thing we have is hope, and with individuals like you out there working hard 24/7, because that's what this is. It's inspiring because there are individuals out there who can bring that hope to reality when you see those incredible results from your research. Is there something significant in your life that changed that kind of brought you into the world of Parkinson's disease awareness and research?
Well, for me personally, and a lot of my colleagues at Cure Parkinson's, I think we're about 40 now um, in the organization, but many of us had a very close friend or a relation who had Parkinson's, and it created a profound effect on all of us. In my case, I was working in um, pediatric cardiology, um, which is a long way from Parkinson's, but one of my colleagues developed Parkinson's disease, very close colleague, very close friend who I worked with for many years. And we published a lot together and did a lot of work, in some ways changing the face of cardiology. But I had other friends that developed Parkinson's disease. So when I was asked by the founders of Cure Parkinson's, who were four people who had Parkinson's, and they had decided that there was not enough being done to slow progression, and so they formed the organization to do that. Hence the name Cure Parkinson's. And I was fairly quick to join the organization. So it's a natural organization to establish itself because no one was doing that then. Of course, many organizations around the world are now focusing on cure or delaying disease progression now, but we were clearly the first, and but that was by chance. We independently decided that that was a fine mission, um, a noble aim, should we say, to change the course of the disease. It seemed a natural thing for us all to do when we were seeing people all around us who were getting a little worse each year. So so that's our focus.
Thank you. I know with my mother, watching the progression, unfortunately, speed up was something that kind of haunts me still today. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's very touching and important. I was wondering, there are, in your 20 years doing this, maybe more, there's so many topics and areas of Parkinson's that one would be interested in. How does it, how does your work and your research kind of concentrate on one specific? Is it mainly on progression, or is it all, environment? Is there so many others? I'm just curious because you have, many years of experience. What makes you want to go into research in a specific area right now?
Well, Cure Parkinson's has always done, uh, should we say, laboratory-based research, but that includes genetics and epidemiology and all of the things that are components of relevance to Parkinson's. But we've always been involved with clinical trials as well, from really from the very beginning. So we've matured how we choose what trials we launch, what treatments we give to patients. And to do that, we set up, let me think, it was about 2011, we set up an international committee to choose what treatments we were going to give to patients. So in order to study disease modification, trials had to be a minimum of a year. These days, we're thinking more that 18 months is the absolute minimum. Some have gone on for 2 years, some for 3. So at Cure Parkinson's, we research drugs and also other forms of treatment, such as stem cells and gene therapy, growth factors, regenerative medicine. But most of our work is in small molecules or peptides, various treatments that might be put under a pharmaceutical banner, although they're not all pharmaceuticals. But what we've always done is write the justification for each of the compounds that we've proposed to our international committee. So our international committee is now about 25 world experts, and we we decide what the most promising approaches are. So we write a detailed dossier, maybe 20, 25 pages about the different treatments and how it's about its safety and its merits. Does it have a compelling logic to give to Parkinson's patients to slow down disease? So we encompass that in probably around 20 to 25 pages. And every year we give 15 to 20 of those dossiers to our international committee. So we're already committed to those compounds. We think that there's something about each of them that merits its place in that sort of top list of approaches. And each year we do that. So we send, I don't know, something like 300 pages to our world experts, and then a few weeks before we meet, and then we meet either in Michigan or in Windsor in the UK, and we lock the doors for 2 or 3 days and decide which of those are going to go into trials. So I think we've proposed about 220 to 240 compounds over those years. So I think we're in our 13th or 14th year now of using this structure. It's a very high bar to get a drug approved by that committee, but nevertheless, they have prioritized 60 of those that we've proposed to them, and we've got at least 40 of those into trials. So that's and sometimes other people decide that they want to put them into trials anyway. So so that's great. We just stand back and see what happens. We're very just delighted that we're seeing those compounds that we've championed, that someone else has found a source of funds that they can do it themselves. So they're mainly us doing the trials in one way or another. We've we've made arrangements with a number of governments around the world, and federal and state governments, and we align with various other charities and various other bodies to so it's not just our funding. I think we managed to get something like 8 or 10 times the amount of money we're able to put into these trials. We've brought in from outside, and the pharmaceutical companies give us drug and placebo for the trials. So it's now quite a well-oiled machine, that every year we do that, and so there are lots of trials running around the world, and it's we won't stop until we've stopped the disease progression.
I really appreciate Doctor bringing us through the steps. The listeners are really, I'm sure, enjoying it. A lot of time we have advocates, we have individuals diagnosed, but to hear from the researchers, the scientists is really fascinating, because you're literally the ones that hopefully will bring the cure someday soon. Is there a specific topic that you're going to be researching in the upcoming months, or you're still working on a current one? If you can share it, you might not even be allowed.
No, I'm very happy to talk about it. Obviously we're behind NDAs with some of the pharmaceutical companies we work with, because they feel that they're potentially profitable, as well as us wanting to study those compounds, because we think that they're very strong candidates. But mostly we're quite happy to talk about it. I mean, it's hard to pick things out, really, because last time I looked, we were studying 104 biological targets. So these are 104 different processes going on in the brains or the cells, the neurons in or other types of cells in the brain of Parkinson's patients, and they're not quite going right. And so we're finding ways to correct what's going wrong with those processes. So if you like, we're looking at a very broad canvas. We've done a lot of trials with GLP-1 agonists, which no one had really heard about for the first 10 years we were doing trials with them. But of course, now they've become huge news around the world for their weight loss and diabetes management, but they're also being used in cardiovascular and urology and idiopathic hypertension, intracranial hypertension, alcohol dependency. I think there's 12 therapeutic areas these compounds are being used now, and a lot of those trials have gone very quickly, because they're not looking at a neurodegenerative condition where we have to do our trials for 2 years. We learn from that, and then we do another trial for, say, 2 years, and it takes a long time to do long-term trials. And as you learn, your first trial is never, I mean, whatever the therapeutic area it is, even if you're working in antibiotics and anesthetics, you'll have an answer in a week, and then you do another trial from what you've learned. Well, if your cycle is 2 to 3 years between trials, you're waiting for the results to play out, then everyone else on GLP-1s have caught up, because of course they're very good at treating diabetes and obesity. And in fact, there was a study just very recently that showed that the 2 main weight loss drugs, GLP-1 agonists, which is semaglutide, and the dual agonist tirzepatide, create more weight loss than you can get with exercise and diet. Yeah, actually, the level of weight loss you get is greater than those two. There were always people were thinking, well, if only people could exercise and diet better. No, but no, these GLP-1 agonists that we've been giving to patients for more than a decade now are actually more potent in weight loss. We choose versions of these drugs which the weight loss is very mild, but some of them are it's 15 or 20 kilograms. We're not giving those to patients, but it's the same drug class.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to share now the actual Cure Parkinson's page, and just want to see if you could touch about, and as you talk, I'm going to share just some of the incredible research you're doing. But everyone, please go to cureparkinson.org.uk and support them, donate, read their research. You can spend many hours, days even on here, shop for the holiday too, of course, but also a lot of the support will help fund research that the great doctor can continue to help push towards a cure. Maybe you can, and this is again your profile, can you talk about how important it is that we all throughout the country join together at events such as the World Parkinson's Congress?
The World Parkinson's Congress is a unique event in any therapeutic area. I've never come across I mean, I worked in cardiology and genetics for many years, and I've never come across a big conference involving thousands of people where half of them are professional, in this case, neurologists, and the other half are thousands of patients. That's a blend that is very rare, and I've never seen it ever in cardiology. And I've never seen it in genetics, and it's active, and there's been maybe close on 10 now. It's every 3 years. The next one's in Phoenix. I was honored to get Paul McCartney to give the opening address in the opening ceremony at the previous one, which was about 18 months ago in Barcelona. I got him to do a video. He had a very close friend with Parkinson's, and he gave a wonderful address, which stunned the audience. But yeah, it's a really interesting, if it's an interesting conference, particularly for patients, I think, who it's such a vivid conference for patients, and of course a lot of Parkinson's professionals, neurologists, are giving up to the minute talks, and they love it too. So it's very special.
I appreciate it. And then I wanted to shift now as we kind of wrap up. I wonder if you sleep, because I know I don't, but you're doing the most important work out there, the actual research. Is there one
George,
moment?
I don't know whether this is the thing as you get older, but I sleep less than this. I'm about 4 hours,
Nice.
in the day now, and a lot of my colleagues are similar age. The amount of sleep you may want more sleep, but you wake at 5 a.m. and that's it.
I think you're doing work that's so important because you're not just changing lives, but you're helping them for the better. And I'm grateful again for all that you do and your friendship. Maybe we could wrap up with a few final questions. I know there might be many, but is there one moment most memorable throughout all of your work that stands out the most, besides Mr. McCarthy speaking, but through your research, is there one? I know you mentioned earlier some beautiful moments when you see the results work for some of the people with Parkinson, but I was curious, is there one moment?
Well, there are so many that it's difficult to pick out. But I think one of the founders of this charity was Tom Isaacson. Many people knew him. He walked the entire coastline of Great Britain to start to raise money for the charity. The coastline of Great Britain is 4,500 miles long. So it took a long time, but he was hugely dedicated, and I spent a lot of time with him. He's very dyskinetic, and I had hundreds of memorable moments with Tom, and it was a great inspiration to see the strength he had to keep the fight and the impetus to get the charity up and running, so that we could actually do something tangible to stop neurodegeneration and stop patients getting any worse. And so I would say Tom Isaacs would be the person, and innumerable numbers of individual moments that have made that up. A very stunningly impressive man.
Thank you. A lot of the work we all do, but especially you, is not always easy because you're dealing with individuals who are struggling. I wonder what helps you, or is there someone to support you during the times of struggle? And how do you break through that and continue to fight? Because obviously, as a researcher, not everything works as we want. So it takes time, it takes years, decades. Is there something, that keeps you fighting and going?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea what you're going to ask me today, and that's
We do that on purpose.
yeah, no, that's fine. I My father was volcanic, with a, a fiery anger at times, and I grew up never wanting to be like that. So I became a tolerant person, and it's actually been incredibly helpful in my work in Parkinson's disease, because I see so many Parkinson's patients struggling. Sometimes our research goes really well, and then sometimes we get a clinical trial which stuns us because it didn't work and we designed it and everything was in place, and yet it still didn't work. So it's humbling. You have to go back and understand even more about why it didn't work when you were convinced alongside all your colleagues that it was going to be, the answer, and then it wasn't. And so it's back to the drawing board. But I think it's I don't need a support person on my shoulder. I'm very well self-contained to be tolerant. My body doesn't break down. I mean, I'm just so lucky, got great genetics. And yeah, I guess I'm lucky to be someone who can run the marathon. Well, I have run marathons, but I can keep that going day after day, and spend more than half a day at my desk or working in some way, probably 15 hours a day, I would imagine.
Thank you. And if you were asked to write a script, which you might have been, to a movie about your life story, what would you call it, and what actor would play your role? Because I think I would be the first in line with my popcorn.
I, well done, George. I mean, you've asked me a question. I have no idea who
That's
would play me, um, and what would it be? I mean,
I just think a lot of what you've said is such a journey and needs to be told for a long, long, long time to come.
yeah, a whole lot of films have just run past me. There's the Lorenzo Oil one. I think any film where someone has been fighting all the odds to get through, because I feel I'm fighting all the odds of biology, um, uh, trying to find a way to change the biology to get patients back to where, so they're not patients anymore, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So I kind of I, I kind of align myself with that sort of noble fight against all odds. So if you can find a film that does that, and there are very many of them, then it'll be one of those. So I'm not a
Well,
film watcher, and I'm not a film goer. I go to nightclubs. I don't, it must be a very boring life. But yeah, a film like that. Find a film like that for me, and if you can find an actor for me.
I love it. Well, I do have one final question, but before that, everyone, please again go to cureparkinson.org. UK. I'll share it in the notes, and please support the great doctor and all of the amazing research they're doing, because I think with them, I know I don't sleep either a lot, but I sleep a little better knowing that we have individuals like you fighting for everyone. If you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
We're on your case. We're very grounded. I mean, we're a patient-led organization for a start, and we regularly hold patient meetings. Often people who have been on long-term trials for us. We held one last week at the Royal Society of Medicine, with I mean, hundreds at the conference, but hundreds more online, and we listen to the patient's voice and incorporate those that patient voice, and that's diverse from patient to patient. We incorporated it into the trials. We're very keen to have patient led outcomes, so that things that are important to patients, rather than just having neurologists or geneticists or whatever choose what they think are important. To judge the results of a trial. Of course, we include those, but we also include outcomes and have patient panels and those sort of things that keep us very, very closely grounded. Because if we don't, we would just lose sight of the disease and the important aspects of it that we're trying to deal with.
Well, I really appreciate your time. It's such an honor to, again, have the opportunity to speak, to talk about this important research that's changing the world for the better. And special thank you to everyone at Cure Parkinson's for your tireless efforts. Do have a little message for the doctor and everyone listening. We love you, we support you, we care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with the doctor and entire Cure Parkinson's, will advocate for you, and together I feel our voices are so much stronger. And just like the doctor, I always say I'm just getting started, but neither of us really are. He's been doing this for many, years, long time, but neither of us, I guarantee, will ever stop fighting until the cure is at everyone's doorstep. So I want to thank you again, doctor. Such an honor. I mean, I could spend 20 hours with you, but then you won't want to be friends anymore. So I do hope to meet you, hopefully in Arizona, and thank you in person. Again, just such an honor. Thank you, sir.
And thank you, George, and well done for everything you do.
I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for listening. It's been another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son, George. Please share this. We got to get the word out. We have to support Cure Parkinson's. And again, this is not an effort just in one country, one city, or one state. We have to be a family. This has to be a worldwide effort. And so grateful for your time. And thank you again, doctor. Thanks everyone for listening. Stay tuned. We'll be back very soon.